Hey, it's Mike from Apollo once again, and this time we're talking about how to get from your first 10 customers to 100. Now, you've got 10 customers, they're your first customers. You have worked super hard to get those customers onto your product or service, and that's good, but there's still a lot of work to do. You might even say that's good, it's not great yet. And one of the things that I see a lot is the mistake in founders perceiving those 10 customers as we got it, we got product market fit, we're off to the races. Thank you very much. The truth is a bit different because what we will find and uncover is there's not really a system to the first 10, and that's how it should be. What I'm going to take you through are the steps in the process to go from 10 to 100. Make sure you did your homework prior to the 10 and actually give you a sense of what comes after 100 as well. I've got all my notes here. This one's a big one. I think there's a couple of questions you can ask about product market fit to put it in the lens of customers. You're going to hear me talk a lot about, are they paying and are they staying? It's a really big theme. As a precursor to that, the question is, are we generating new customers while we sleep? Okay. So if everything is just all about those manual processes, usually from the founder, then what you're going to experience is when everybody's asleep, there's nothing happening. If there's nothing happening while you're asleep, you don't have a system. It's not repeatable, it's not scalable. So therefore, you don't have product market fit. So let's go through those 3 levels and let's see how they manifest and what you can see with customers. Level 1, are they seeking a solution and are actually already trying to solve the problem? So seek and solve. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Then obviously what we're really in the meat of here is, are they paying and they're staying? That's the big thing from 10 to 100. That's like a huge part of that step. And then the third one is, are they really choosing and renewing for you, which is really about upsell, cross-sell, expansion, not only within customers, but within markets, new features, new services. Okay. So those are the 3 levels of fit. That business model fit, that last one, that one is for the rare and the mighty, because very few people get there. A lot of people are struggling in these earlier phases. So that's why I want to talk about it. So I have done quite a few videos around seek and solve and problem solution fit. I think the big thing here is just don't mistake ad hoc feedback from family and friends as being real truth of problem solution. Get out there and you need to talk to customers. But even before you do that, you can run some research on, are people actually seeking a solution? Have a look at Google search, Reddit comments and threads, and also how are they trying to solve things right now? See what people are sharing. Another good one is, what are companies hiring for in these kind of weird ad hoc solutions to a problem that's really bothering them? You might even see some evidence there of seeking and solving. Now, of course, the highest form you can go to after that, you can go and survey prospects, with prospects, interview prospects. And I've talked a lot about 100 survey recipients, 20 user interviews, 20 user tests, just as a benchmark. That would be enough evidence, enough facts by which you can say, okay, we know exactly the problem solution here. Let's go. Now, one of the things that as you come into, are they paying and staying, as you're trying to figure out this journey from 10 to 100, one of the interesting things is going to be this idea of triggers, signals, or I think they're all a bit of a proxy for urgency, because you can have something that really addresses a need of a customer, but they might not be in any rush at all to solve it. However, when you can isolate those that have the urgency as well, this is gold, and those are going to be the key 90 that come on top of the 10. So let's now go to this moment. We want to get from 10 to 100. And let's talk about the mistake here of what I mentioned earlier is you've got that 10 and you think you're good. You think, let's just keep doing it as is. But the real truth here is, and there's this idea of growth motions that I'm going to talk about, is actually what you are doing is not scalable and repeatable. It is based on the founder. You might have heard of founder-led growth, founder-led sales. Well, these things, they're obviously completely limited to the founder. And you can only have so many of those. They only have so many hours in the day, and they've got like a ton of things to do. So what's really quite interesting about this is if you see the choke point at the founder, you got 10, 11 sales and you can't really move the needle, it's because that founder's probably doing new biz, probably talking to partners, probably doing a little bit of customer service, fixing some problems, patching up maybe some expectations with the customer. So what you see here is we're really getting into systems thinking, and we're actually really trying to take the load off the founder. Okay. At some point, somebody else has to come to the party. And it's not only people, somebody, something. And that thing is a system. It's a growth system. It's repeatable and it's scalable. So if you are thinking about this, what you are also really trying to do is take your early stage company, take your startup out of like survival mode and get it into thrive mode. So from survive to thrive. This is the key shift. And the system is what does it all. Things that are workflows, which are automations, which everybody and everything, i.e. the tech, is working in concert with. So we really want to relieve our founders. We want to make a transition away from just founder-led sales to perhaps sales, marketing, or product-led sales. Those are all options in that. But first, let's go get that other 90 customers. And I'm going to give you 3 things that I think are imperative to do to go from 10 to 100. The first one touches a little bit on this theme that I mentioned of like finding out who are these customers that have the urgency. So that's a formal practice of segmentation. So let's talk about what a poorly segmented offering looks like. So I've got this example here. You might imagine that this is on a homepage or a landing page. We help healthcare companies. Okay. Well, it's good that they're trying to help and they're naming at least a vertical. But the reality here is in any market, there's thousands of healthcare companies. So you can't boil the ocean here. So let's make it a little bit better. We help radiology clinics. Okay. So we've taken a segment of that healthcare vertical and we've segmented it. But here's where it can get better. And this is the real clue that will nudge you towards where segmentation really should be. We help radiology clinics are overwhelmed by workers' compensation document processing. So you see what we start to do here is we work through a series of vectors, of filters, where not only do you say what market, Australia, America, UK, for example, not just what industry, healthcare, education, etc., but you get right down into sizing the market, maybe down with employees, with revenues. Where it gets really, really good is where you say, oh, those that have all installed HubSpot, or those that are using an industry certification, or maybe they're a member of an association. Maybe they have, if we're talking about healthcare clinics in any practice, maybe they're a multi-clinic franchise. So what you start to do is you narrow in your focus. That segmentation, the best analogy I can give you is it becomes fish in a barrel, because you can speak so explicitly to their pains and their gains and their jobs to be done. When they are confronted with your marketing, with your sales, when they talk to you, they realize that you speak to their very deepest worries or hopes. And that's actually where great segmentation gets you. Now, what's really nice is within those, take an accountant. Every accountant in any Western economy knows that once a year, the tax man comes. This is what we call a trigger. And every industry has triggers and signals such as regulation, such as certification or renewal, something that comes along, or maybe it's seasonality, or maybe it's competitor moves. These all up urgency. So your first 90 customers to come out after that 10 are really going to experience a sense of urgency such that they will go across any trust or proof concerns they have and take a bet on your startup. So segmentation to get to that really refined sense of urgency in a small niche. Go dominate the niche first for that first 100. Okay, so that's number one. So number two here is that these customers, they have to kind of move. I want you to imagine they move through a funnel, through a flow. We generally talk about in full funnel marketing, top, middle, and bottom of funnel. So let's talk about what we see tripping up and preventing getting to 100 customers. So generally, what's interesting here is founders have given so much to start their company. They think about it nonstop. That their mistake is that they think that their customers think about it a lot, think about them a lot. And that's wrong. Overestimating how much people care or even know about your startup is a prime problem. And it's natural as well. So if you accept that nobody knows you exist, this is a really good basis for you to say, okay, well, like, how do we get on the radar? And I think that the key transition is to go back to the pains and the gains that customers are already, wait for it, seeking and solving. So this is why that first step is so powerful. If you know that they're seeking a solution, they're already trying their best effort on a solution to this problem. If you know that, you can speak to the problems and the shortfalls of their current solution so that when you turn up, they're like, this is great. This really is 10 times better, 10 times easier, faster, cheaper, whatever the benefit that you're bringing to them, it becomes very relatable for them. So if they don't really think it's a big problem, if they don't really, the Band-Aid approach is okay, when you turn up, they're like, maybe, right? And they have no urgency. But if they're strong on the seek and the solve signal from that earlier stage, when you turn up at the top of the funnel, speaking to those pains and gains, speaking to the deficiency of current solutions as they would, this is a great top of funnel place to be. Go get the endorsements, social proof, be in their associations, join their clubs, be in their universe and speak their language. So, an example would be, you might be tempted to say, hey, we've got AI-powered workflow automation. Okay, that's pretty general. But if you said, reduce medical document review from 4 hours to 20 minutes, that's what I'm talking about. That's talking their language, showing up in their universe. And in top of funnel, that's going to be great. Throw in some trust, some social proof, and you're off to the races. So that's top of funnel as part of big area number 2, which is get your funnel right. Area number 1, get your segmentation right. So now we're kind of moving that segment through this funnel. So we're speaking their language. Now in the middle, you've got to turn up with the right tools for them to get into problem solutioning, to understand how the features match to that. Because here's the key idea. Tools in this middle of the funnel, tools help conversion. How? Tools build trust. If you don't have the right diagnostic, calculator, checklist, demo, video, artifact, whatever it is, your tool that helps them better dimensionalize problem solution, the better that is, the more trust you'll have. And we all know that great levels of trust will absolutely end in sales, because that's the last thing they're looking at. Once they're convicted of problem solution fit with you, once they're convicted, they're like, this product is what I need. Can I trust these guys? Do they look legit? Well, you've got the social proof there. And of course, at the bottom of the funnel, we need to see upsell, cross-sell. We need to see support that is top-notch, getting them to value really quick. We need to see onboarding that does the same. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a second. But the other thing is, we want to see customer success. We want to see that being shared and celebrated. In fact, you might even create an incentive for referrals within your existing customers. Now, one side noted, the highest form of businesses who have business model fit actually have a viral coefficient where if every customer comes in, those customers go get another customer. So the closer you get one for one, happy days. Now, coming back to some of our earlier thoughts, that is also where you're earning money while you sleep. And that's this big transition, this transformation that's happening right here in this thinking. Okay, so we've got a segment. They're going through a funnel. Let's talk about onboarding. This onboarding and activation, we are again at risk of thinking how much the customer cares about us. Even though they bought from us, they still care most about their outcome. So the temptation here for a lot of startups is to lecture, to over-communicate, tell them everything, make them jump through a lot of hoops. In fact, what you want to do is sort of like what we call a progressive onboarding. Tell them just enough to get instant value. Said differently, I just want you to imagine when you've been excited about an online service, a subscription or an app, and particularly in the business form, and you get out the credit card, you're ready to go, you've bought, and then the onboarding is like a meeting with procurement. And man, if you have the patience, the payoff has to be exceptional. If it's a long onboarding, multi-step onboarding, multi-day onboarding, versus if you get to value within the first 30 minutes, maybe within the first 5 minutes, you go, aha, Wow, this is pretty neat. Okay, good. Yes, I'll tell you more. Revolut have been genius at doing onboarding. So that's a good case study or reference point. The key thing here is get to value fast. Get them to an aha in that first session. Do not think that they want to hear everything and anything about your company and your product and your service and this edge case and that. Get them to value fast. So 3 things. Segment like crazy. Really rigorously put them through the funnel. And both of those 2 steps is going to be a lot of experimentation. And the same with the third one. The third step is really about refining this progressive onboarding, giving them just enough to get sufficient value so they're delighted. Hey, it can be a 3-course meal. Don't try and hit the home run on the first shot. Just give them a beautiful entree. They'll come back for the main meal, guaranteed. And then when you deliver dessert, there's a big tip in it for you. So let's now reflect on segmentation to get us from 10 to 100. Let's reflect on getting from 10 to 100 through this lens of a full funnel. And thirdly, let's really think about how we might do onboarding that is super quick, fast to value. Because if we do those things, you have people and tools, you have technology, workflows mapped step by step, and there's logic that gates between each of those steps, such that your founder can probably take a much needed holiday. Maybe the founder doesn't need to work on weekends and late at night. Maybe those founders can reintroduce themselves to family and friends. This really is, are they staying and are they paying? This is what product market fit looks like. This is what getting from 10 to 100 looks like. Now, the big thing is what got you your first 10 was probably just sheer will and hustle from a founder. The reality is that there is a big change here. So it's really crucial that you understand you have to start, instead of just working in the business, you have to work on the business. You have to put the time into those standards, those processes, procedures, policies. It sounds boring, but think about it. It's the same. If you have, once you're at 100 staff on the inside, it becomes very hard to get everyone in a room for the founder to influence everything. And it's exactly the same on the outside. You can't just dial up a customer and solve their problems and delight them and charm them. No, you need the system to delight and charge them. You need a repeatable, scalable system that satisfies the customer, that fulfills the customer on their job to be done, not just the hygiene, pain, and gains that really is in a higher level. Now, if you do that, you'll be very close to unlocking this choose and renew business model fit. And that the heart of business model fit is as you grow, your unit of margin increases. That, my friends, is a whole different video. What I hope I've done now is presented to you 3 things that you can do to get from 10 to 100 customers in your startup. All right, that's it for today. I'll catch you next time.